how the cost of home owning will not only affect the owners themselves, but what it does to the market itself. I don't understand the point. Home owning will not only affect the owners to the market. Trend number 5. Welcome back to our channel. I hope you've been enjoying the summer. It's been such an amazing summer so far, and I wanted to share with you top 5 trends that are going to be impacting real estate in Canada. Trend number 1, second wave of COVID-19. What will actually happen if we were to approach second wave, which is looking at previous waves and pandemics, we have seen that there is going to be a second wave. But what does it mean for real prices? And I will share with you what I have seen here in Toronto. So I can't really apply it anywhere else except Toronto, because that's where I practice my real estate license. We had a pause during the market when it kind of got announced March 17 and April and sometime of May. There was a crazy pause. People chose not to list their homes and they chose not to buy real estate. So what really was the reason for that was there was this big unknown. People didn't know where it's going, what will happen. However, as soon as June hit, people felt a bit more comfortable. Phase 2 of the pandemic was, we started opening up restaurants, the patio of course, and there were a few other things that got opened up, and as a result, people started feeling more comfortable going on the market, seeing what's currently available, and also listing their homes. I mean, keep in mind, interest rates are at the lowest they've been since 2017, and as a result, this impacted the prices to increase. Why did the prices increase, you're probably asking yourself? For one reason only. There is a limited supply, which I mentioned back in May. If you check out the videos and if you click right here, you will see the video where I was predicting where the real estate market is going, and you will notice that the lack of inventory and there's huge demand from buyers looking to buy a home. I mean, if you're sitting at home and you're realizing with your wife and the kids that the space is no longer enough, you of course are going to start browsing and start exploring what other options are out there. With the interest law being so low, you can afford more. So if you were thinking of upgrading from a 2-bedroom condo to a townhouse, now is the perfect moment, because keep in mind, you can get about $600,000 for your condo and buy a townhouse at $800,000. So the gap is only $200,000 difference. Before COVID-19, I gotta mention that the price was $500 and it was about $900. So the gap was $400,000. So because of that, the gap now shrinked and more people are now able to buy. And it's again only because the interest rate have been lower, so it means you have more money available. That let's say a mortgage payment of $3,000 could have bought you $600,000, now it buys you $800,000. And as a result, it made more buyers available to buy the same homes, but the lack of inventory raised the prices. The government of Canada has been helping out a lot of Canadians with funds. We know the program with the $2,000 a month per person to help them out. How did it impact the rental? And let me share with you something that I've been seeing here in Toronto. Again, it doesn't apply everywhere, but it does certainly apply in Toronto. With the pandemic and in March, people chose not to pay a rental fee in April. And they thought this is going to be a great trend. People will not pay it in May, June, July. However, the opposite actually happened. Tenants thought they can live in the apartment and not pay the rent. The government, however, came up with a rule saying that if you will not pay your rent, there is a possibility for the landlord to evict you. And we'll talk in a different video about how the landlord has now the power to evict you if you choose not to pay the rent. So with that said, we're looking at now Canada the government is still paying the $2,000 a month. At some point, most likely, they will stop. A lot of people thought that this is going to be a crazy situation where if the government will not pay, people will not start losing their homes, which could be the case in some parts of the country. I agree with you, but I am only referring to myself where I work in the GTA, and I'm seeing the opposite. If you can't afford your home, you just don't go on the market. I mean, if you bought the home 10 years ago and you paid only $500, but the home is now worth 1.5, what I have seen people doing, and I'm sure in the comments below you will comment and say, this is crazy, this doesn't make any sense, but what I have seen as I'm working on a daily basis, I have seen people just pulling some equity for their homes. I mean, if you bought it for 500 and your home is now worth 1.5 million, you have $1 million in equity. So worst comes to worst, if you can't afford your mortgage right now, you will just pull out some equity at 2% and you will cover the mortgage this way. So with that said, where things are going, we don't know, but we do know that tenants right now are paying the rental fees because they realize that if they were to stop paying the tenants, they will be simply evicted. With the rentals, and this is something that I have seen with investors now, they realize that because of the high prices right now of the real estate, they wanted to get out of the market. And a lot of them kind of realize that this is now the perfect opportunity to sell their condo apartments, especially in Toronto, and get their money out, and then at some point to either move to a different investment vehicle or do something else with that money. So as a result, we are noticing that there's more apartments available, especially downtown Toronto, than ever before, for one reason only. If they're realizing that now, as of July, the prices are as high as they were back in March 2017, they're saying to themselves, you know what, this is now the perfect time for me to cash out, enjoy the profits I made, and reinvest it at something different at some point in the future. And as a result, we're noticing a lot more tenants are now looking for apartments for one reason only. If their investor had an apartment in Toronto and they were renting it out for, let's say, $2,200 a month, but then they gave them the 6 days notice and they said, you know what, I will take this money and I will put the condo on the market and reinvest the money afterwards, you now have more tenants looking for apartments. And I know you're saying to yourself, and you will be commenting below, where you're saying it doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense, but this is what actually happening. There are more tenants looking for a rental apartment than ever before, which as a result, increasing the prices of rental. I know, like, who would think that COVID-19 will result in higher rental prices? I did not think about it. When I was back in April, I had no idea, but this is where things are going. This is the trend. Let me share with you trend number 4. So here's something that people were not really sure about, and there was a little bit of misconception and didn't understand. So let me clear it off. Pre-construction was on hold for exactly 2 weeks. That's it. The government in Toronto here, and as well as in Ontario, they put the pre-construction on hold for exactly 2 weeks. One thing's a bit cleared off. People started going back to work now, obviously wearing masks, doing everything that they need to do based on the guidance, but it only was held for 2 weeks, which means if you're expecting to close on your new apartment sometime in the end of 2020 or beginning of 2021, you're only going to be delayed by about 2 weeks. So don't expect, and this is something that I can only say here in Toronto, don't expect that the delay will be for over a year. For some reason, and I know it makes sense, because the government realized that there are thousands of people that are going to be closing on their new apartment within the next year. So they couldn't put construction on hold because it will delay, and the delay itself will affect the industry in an insane way that could affect the economy big time. So this is the reason why if you were delayed by 2 weeks, Don't be surprised, it was because the government put it on hold for exactly 2 weeks. I'm paying a mortgage, and will the COVID-19 make it more difficult for me? Maybe yes, maybe no. However, the trend itself, where things are going, the way we're looking at this moment, is that the COVID-19 did not really affect the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. Again, in some parts in Toronto or Canada, it could. But in Toronto, where we're looking at a price increase of 11.8% from previous year, we're seeing that the COVID-19 only put a hold. It put everything on pause. It froze everything, but now things are going back to normal. I know it's a new normal, so it's definitely not the old normal, but things are going back to reality and people understanding that they have to live somewhere. So that living somewhere really it just makes you understand. Think about it for a second. Take a second and think about it. If you own a home and you can afford the mortgage, why would you want to sell it and get out of the market? So this is something that you have to ask yourself, is if I have a home and I'm paying my mortgage, why would I get out of the market because of COVID-19? And this is something that people are always thinking with themselves. They're saying to themselves, I can either upsize, I can move up to a bigger home, or I can downsize, I can downgrade from my 2-car garage to a single garage. This is what people are thinking. If you really can't afford the mortgage, that's a completely different story. If you're leveraging yourself way too much, you shouldn't be in a home, you shouldn't leverage yourself way too much from the get-go. So keep that in mind. I mean, as far as go for trends, this is where things are going right now. We're in July. We have seen the craziness of March and April. So I hope this helps. Make sure you subscribe below, smash the like button, give me the thumbs up, show me that you care, and I'll see you in the next one.